folks, we are in the Great Smoky Mountains, and we're about to tour Cade's Cove. This is a driving tour and has multiple stops on a one-lane loop, so we're going to drive that loop. The first place we're going to get to is John Oliver Place, and no, not the John Oliver from last week tonight. Right now, though, I'm going to check and see if there's a comfort station here. And yeah, if there's a comfort station in this area, I've missed it. So let's just carry on. So yeah, this is just a little valley. That's a cove tucked into the Great Smoky Mountains. And it was home to settlers in these parts for hundreds of years. And each of the different stops along this trail tells you a part of the story of the settlers that settled this valley. So when we get to the John Oliver Place, we'll pull over and we'll talk about it. I love how there's cows and horses out in these fields. It reminds me of Little House on the Prairie. I realize this isn't a prairie, but you get the idea. Now, should you decide to hike this, it's an 11-mile loop. So number 3, this is the John Oliver cabin, is back at this spot. What do you want? Do you want something? You look like a kitty that wants something. You do. You look like a kitty that needs attention. Alright folks, I did not sign up for a good healthy walk today, so I'm going to drive this loop just to see what there is to see, but this first cabin you got to hike in, and it's an easy walk. I don't want to today. And on this very first trail, there's a bear. So even if I wanted to walk up there, there's a bear. So, I mean, yay, there's bears. That's awesome. But yeah, I'm not going to walk that. All right, now we're moving on to stop number 2, which is a Primitive Baptist Church. I read somewhere that the Great Smoky Mountains National Park is the most visited of the national parks. And I figured it's a Thursday. I should be good. It's the middle of the week. Nope. It's summer. People have vacations. And it is apparently the most visited national park in all the national parks. So, you can tell by the traffic, it is one of the most visited of the national parks. Let me show you some of the views. Yeah, check that out. It's beautiful. There you go. I read somewhere else that these Great Smoky Mountains are called the Great Smoky Mountains because of the haze that comes off the mountains themselves. It's apparently, effectively, the land itself and the trees on that land exhaling and that's what creates that smoky haze. You know what? There is a pole over here. So I'm going to use this pole over. This. All right, folks, as you can see, I've decided to pull off and not be a part of this traffic jam. Because look at that. That's nuts. We're all just sitting there. I got a whole car I could be organizing, and this little spot right here is shady and lovely, and I will sit here and organize my car while that traffic jam does what traffic jams do. So I'm sitting in the National Forest while the traffic jam continues to roll behind me, but I'm making excellent inroads on reorganizing my kitchen, so I feel I'm just one of the, Cade's Cove settlers at the moment. I have my little cabin, and I'm just sitting in my cabin doing what you do in your own cabin. In my case, rearranging the kitchen and throwing out trash and deciding what things I need to disperse to my neighbors because they are no longer a factor in my life. That's a pretty good use of this chunk of forest. So while I'm getting this organized, I thought I would show you guys all some of the inside of my house. You know, this is the mess you create when you're trying to organize things. But yeah, so this passenger side is where I keep, but basically my kitchen. And the only part off there right now that's actually organized is the headrest for the chair. I've got bungee cords that run along here, and those bungee cords hold my paper towels. Attached to the bungee cord is also my ball cap in case I need that. There's a brand new roll on here that I just picked up, and the end of the roll I'm about to get rid of. But you can see, I think, how they're attached right there with that little orange bungee cord. I used to have a more robust bungee cord attached, but these little orange ones are doing a good job. This is a bag full of little keepsake things that people have given me. There's a statue of Ganesh in here. Hey, Mehul. There's I think they're called Thunderstones in here. Hey, Janet. I'm not even sure what all's in there. I'll have to open it up at some point and show you guys what's in the keepsake bag. I have future plans for this, but I haven't enacted them yet. Also hanging off my bungee cords is my first aid kit. It is ridiculous the amount of times that Callie will cause me to bleed in my car. So there's antibiotic ointment and Band-Aids primarily in there. I also just recently put salicylic acid in there. I've been having issues that I need that for. And I've got some Afterbite stashed around here somewhere that I need to put in the first aid kit. When we were in the Chattahoochee Forest, I got ate up. And if you're not familiar with Afterbite, that's this stuff. It's awesome for when you get bug bites. It's really good at calming the itch from the bug bite, especially if you can hit the bug bite right after you got bit. So I recommend some Afterbite. So I keep the seatbelt latched because if you're in a Prius, you have that annoying light over there that says airbag off. You'll get all kinds of annoying warnings if you don't have the seatbelt latched and you have enough weight in the seat for it to think there's a passenger. So that's to prevent that annoying light. So what happens over here, I picked up one of these lap trays. They sell this as a lap desk at Walmart. This one came from a thrift store for like $1. and it already fell apart. So all of these dots are where the pad used to be stapled, and the pad came off. So this is the pad here, right there. But I put it on the seat so that when I put the board down, it makes the whole thing level. I also trimmed off that side, and I trimmed off some of that side so that it actively fits here in the seat. And the curve out where they expect your belly to go leaves a good amount of room for me to keep 2 jugs of water. So I keep this one, it's currently iced tea. I knew I was going to be in the forest, so I made an entire gallon of iced tea. And then I always keep a fresh gallon because I have a cat, and the cat always needs drinking water. But also, if I need drinking water, I've got it. Now, this does push this thing forward a little bit, so it's not a perfect system, but it allows these water bottles to tuck down in here. And these are gallon jugs. You might be like, why didn't you just buy a 5-gallon jug? Because where would I put it? Where it's the gallon jugs I can tuck in all kinds of places. Now, the shoulder strap will hold this first one back really well, even when it's full up. But I find that that second one that's currently with tea doesn't hold in very well. So I've got another one of these little orange bungee cords, and I loop it through the jug handle. It's like that. And that keeps that jug from falling over when I do quick stops. You can also see my front sun visor there. It just hangs out on the door handle. What I'm trying to do right now is excavate that whole area and figure something out, because that whole area, it's full of stuff I thought was going to be useful to me, but in all honesty, I don't think I've ever gotten anything out of that area. So I'm not even entirely sure what's down there right now, and I think a lot of it may be things I don't really need to have inside the car. Like, I may want to keep them in the car. Like, I think both cans of fuel for my camp stove might be down there. Those I'm going to keep in the car just because it's temperature controlled in here and it's not in the hot box in the back. I have a silver box attached to the back of the Prius, and it gets way too hot in there. I'll keep the fuel here in the car, but I think there's a lot of things in my car that just don't need to be in here right now. Like all of my winter clothes, I don't care how hot my winter clothes get, so I can move those to the hot box, which is what I've started calling it because in the summer it's a hot box. So I'm going to move those back there. I'm going to move, I have like tongs and a knife sharpener and a whisk and a bunch of things I just haven't used in the last 6 months. So I'm going to move those into the hot box and just try and free up some space here in the cabin so that it doesn't feel so much like Tetris. Every time I want to do something, I have to move something and then move this other thing and then slide this other thing, and it's too much. But I really do think it's just that there's a lot of useless items right now taking up space that don't need to be here. I picked up this orange shoebox, that blue shoebox, and this green plastic shoebox. I'm not really into the whole having hard-sided objects in your car, but I think if I pull the bag that's down there, not the purple one, I know what that is, the kind of looks greenish in this shot, but I don't think that bag's being very functional. Where I think if I put those boxes down there, then I'm only having to move like one box out of the way to get to a different box. Yeah, it's still Tetris, but I know what's in these boxes. I mean, that one's got all of my grains, that one's got all of my beverages, that one's got all of the meats, including the cat food. And I think that's just going to be a lot simpler. I think it's going to make more sense for how I've been using this space. And this space has been the one just driving me the most nuts in the car because it's just not functional the way it is. So, much like every van lifer ever anywhere, I am trying again to make it functional, and we'll see how it goes. A couple of minor changes. Found somewhere to store my tape and my duct tape. Yes, I use those. Found a new purpose for one of my bags. This one now has all of my beverages in it, and my canned fuel. So yeah, my fuel might spoil my beverages, but whatever. Got some 5-hour energy. This can's full of tea. This is some horchata. More tea. Yeah. And now I have room to put more tea in here, which means I'll pull the tea that's in the other container where all the seeds are. It's fine. It's a whole thing. Anyway, it's coming along. It's getting there.